trans people, we're behind you all the way. We want you guys to be able to use the bathroom. Okay, but what about trans people having a single payer healthcare system so they don't have to go on GoFundMe to have their affirmation surgery? Well, no, we don't want to go too crazy.
Trans people were
We
behind.
think that the free market should determine, but they're literally like having higher suicide rates and they're unable to get their affirmation surgery because we don't have a single payer healthcare system and they're dying and accelerated rates. Oh well, see, we like them on on the surface, but we really can't do that because the sun was in my eye and I think I have some gas and all this other crazy stuff. So basically, it's always on the surface issues,
Sorry to
but then
interrupt,
when it
JB, but I got good news. I think I got us live on YouTube. So I'm gonna tweet the YouTube link out. So I think we're
oh,
live on there now. Sorry to interrupt you, brother, but go ahead.
okay,
Thank
cool.
you. Go ahead.
But so when it comes to anything deeper to actually improve people's lives, then that's when they go, sorry, wish we were here, but we can't do it. And so that's the best synopsis I can say. I mean, I went around the world to go across the street in my explanation, but but that's how complicated the Democratic Party actually makes it. So I have to give you a complicated answer for the Democratic Party.
Absolutely, absolutely. And same question for RJ. How would you describe the Democratic Party to a foreigner or someone who had no knowledge of the American political system?
Well, simply, it's no different from the Republican Party. It's really a wolf in sheep's clothing. You know, the Democratic Party is very good at using culture war, just like the Republicans are actually, in terms of appeasing their base to distract them from getting the things they want, like a $15 minimum wage, like Medicare for all, like many of these progressive policies. So if someone who was not a part of America and would want to know what the Democratic Party is there all those things I just described.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. And Rome, how would you describe the Democratic Party?
Democratic Party is very
I asked them, have they ever heard about the KKK? And if they have any knowledge about, any white supremacy or any CIA attacks in their country that they might live in. They might not know about our political system, but they might have heard of our army. It's almost impossible not to. So I'll say, there you go. They're the KKK in today's times. And why I say that is their policies is nothing but hate crimes all across the board. Like if we really look at how much power they have right now, we're controlling damn near everything in the government besides the courts. They can use this. They want to say like how they say, oh, no Republicans voted for this bill. And, well, that means you could have gave us anything. It still would have passed. So when black people, brown people, Asian people are at the bottom of the barrel because of your policies, what else would you call it? So that's how I describe
Absolutely, I completely agree. And Jackie, how would you describe the Democratic Party? I'm very, very, very curious to hear your answer to this question.
It's one of two political parties in the United States. It's just a means to make people think that they have a choice when they really don't. It's just one part of the duopoly that is really just the front for the oligarchy.
Absolutely. And last, and Nick, same question.
So anyone know how I feel about the Democratic Party? I think the Democratic Party is completely fraudulent, but they serve a very useful purpose. At the end of the day, no matter who's in charge, the politicians in our ruling class, they rule based on what the U.S. empire, their overall interest. So I predicted a lot of things that Joe Biden would do in terms of foreign policy. For example, he promised he's going to get back in the Iran deal. He said he was going to get out of the stop the funding of the genocide in Yemen. I mean, there's so many of these promises that he made in the foreign policy front that he portrayed on. I said that was going to happen because you understand that the state operates on these levels. So the Democratic Party, they work as a safeguard towards the state. Now, they can fight the Republicans on certain issues. These are issues that don't largely impact the state. These are the social issues. And these things are important. And I tell people to always vote their conscience, because if there's issues that are important to you, vote and advocate for your community. But what I always tell people, the biggest thing to me, I'm looking about what crimes are you complicit with, what policy are you pushing. And if you look at literally just standard U.S. history, when you look at how Bill Clinton pushed the country to the right, he got a lot of policies passed that Ronald Reagan wished he could have got done. I mean, the deregulation of Wall Street, they had welfare reform, which was massive cuts. If you look at Barack Obama, he got in during the Wall Street crash under the guise of working for the working class, but he was a puppet of Wall Street. He hired a puppet of Wall Street and Eric Holder, and he was able to get away with a lot of stuff that Republicans probably will have people in the streets for. So this is what they are designed to do. Anyone know the concept, the ratchet effect concept, where the Republicans, they get in, they completely drag the country to the right because they want to know what they do. But the Democratic Party, they uphold the U.S. imperialist system, the custodial state, the overall capitalist class. That's why the same border crisis happening with Joe Biden. So the same state violence issue is going to be there. And then there's small issues that, once again, they can get away with because it doesn't really affect the state. And you can make your decision whether those things impact your life or not. But my thing is, I will never vote for a war criminal. I think healthcare, as I mentioned before, is the most important policy in terms of Black Americans. So there's things I stand with. So the standard neoliberal Democrat will never, ever have my support. But my general philosophy always will be support leftists and true anti-establishment people, no matter what. You gotta look at your district. If you want to run a third party, you think that the best you way can run, do that. If you're in a deep red state, you want to run as a Republican, I don't care. Democrat is whatever. If you good on the issues and if you're willing to fight, I will support you. But then if you don't do that, I will continue to put pressure on you. And that's how I operate. That's why I wanted to criticize people. Why I even agree with on some of the policies. Bernie Sanders and squad being one of them.
Absolutely. And I guess I'll go last, and sort of piggybacking off of what you said. And I'll use this analogy. So if I'm sitting here and my friend, someone drags me out of this frame to the right, and then I come back, I'm able to say I moved left, even though I came back to the same place. You understand? That's sort of like what Nick is describing with the ratchet effect. The Republicans move us way over there. And then all the Democrats have to do is suggest something slightly to the left of way over there, but slightly to the left of way over there is still center or center right.
Right.
Like that's not left policy. It's to the left. And that is one of the things about mainstream media that really irks me, is when they just put left people in the leftist movement, they put us together with the liberals, the left, the radical left. They put Joe Manchin and AOC in the same bucket. It's just so weird to me. But how I would describe the Democratic Party is that it's one party. There's really one party. There's not an opposition party. You can't have the same owners and be like, we're not on the same team. That doesn't make, you know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. If I'm Verizon and I hire, hire this third party and I hire another third party to do some different work, I'm still your bosses.
Yep.
I'm still telling you what to do. It doesn't matter if you're a third party company over here and I'm in your third party company over there. I am your master. I tell you what to do. So how is it that these two parties can be on opposite sides when they have the same people funding them? It doesn't make any sense. And that's what I would say to describe the Democratic Party to a foreigner. So now we know how we would describe the Democratic Party. And I'm going to start with this next question with Nick. I mean, I know the answer to this question already, but why is the Democratic Party not reformable? Why can't it be reformed?
Because you can't. I will ask someone who believes the Democratic Party can be reformed. I will ask, what is their definition of reform? We already know there are some things that are off the table when it comes to the Democratic Party. Why don't you think you hear Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the squad attack Joe Biden on health care? Because Bernie Sanders openly said they conceded that fight. They're going to follow their agenda on health care. That's why they apologized for Cobra. So if your definition of reforming the Democratic Party is to pushing them on a position of supporting Medicare for all, clearly that is not possible. Now, once again, my large focus on politics, everyone should have their own focus, is state violence and ending U.S. imperialism. Now, once again, I'll go back to the question. How do you define reform? Can you reform the Democratic Party to end all the wars? Clearly not. Clearly not. Can you reform the Democratic Party to end the carceral system? Clearly not. So, on those questions, you can't reform the party. There are some people that are to the right to me and who've been dragged to the right after Bernie Sanders lost, who Breonna Joy Gray was tweeting about this, how they said, well, revolution is off the table after Bernie Sanders lost. This mindset is ridiculous to me. And there are progressives that are repeating this talking point, people that are apologizing for the Democratic Party, because whether they want to admit it or not, the Democratic Party, after Bernie Sanders, when he lost, dragged them back to the right. I, on the other hand, doubled down. And I'm like, I'm not getting dragged to the right. I'm farther left after Super Tuesday. So my definition of reform is different from a lot of people. They see these small things that Joe Biden is doing. Yay, we can reform the party. Yay, we doing it. And I'm like, this shit is ridiculous. He's not even near my litmus test. So to answer your question, I don't think he can. Under my definition, why this is acceptable in a politician.
I love everything you said. And the reason I wasn't laughing because of anything you said, but just the concept, of cheering for the Democratic Party is so bizarre to me, that you're cheering for these people. It's like, yay, 2 crumbs today. Yay. I don't understand that. They're handing you crumbs and you're cheering. And the thing is, they're handing you your own crumbs. Right. They don't even own these crumbs. This is our money. And this, you know what I mean? This is our money. It just doesn't make sense. I'm going to go to Jackie for her response. Why do you believe the Democratic Party cannot be reformed?
I mean, I pretty much already said it. It's just one half of the duopoly. There's no reforming that. You can't, at this point, it's the whole, having 2 parties. It's just to get people to look at politics as like a team sport and not to realize that it doesn't matter which side you vote for, the outcome will be the same. So it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. Nothing is going to fundamentally change. Nothing is going to get done. You're not going to get the policies that you think will actually help. We're not going to get any policies that will actually help. All that's going to happen are more policies written by corporations designed to help corporations, because we are an oligarchy. Rich people control everything. So it really does, Democratic Party doesn't matter. Neither do Republicans. And everybody thinks that oh, well, on social issues. No, it genuinely doesn't matter. If a corporation has a vested interest in something, whether it be a social issue or an economic issue or whatever, that's going to be what the law is going to be. They help you when it benefits them.
Absolutely. Perfectly put. And I'll go to RJ for your response. Also, if you believe it, do you believe or why can't the Democratic Party be reformed, RJ?
Mostly I believe so. It's the lack of, I would say, recognition from the politicians to actually bring forth policies that the grassroots want. Most people don't realize this, but I would say really from 1933 to really the end of the 1970s is when politicians actually did respond well to what the grassroots wanted is ever since the 80s, really until now, when it seems like the more outraged the citizenry gets, the less the politicians are inclined to help, and the more they rely on their corporate donors as cover to win re-election. I mean, you can see that consistently throughout politics today, with Kirsten Sinema voting down the $15 minimum wage
Yep.
when it's heavily popular in Arizona. I mean, even Senator Kelly, who just got there, he's smart enough to vote for it. So it's those type of actions too, which makes it incredibly difficult to reform, which I believe we can't.
You said can or can't? Cannot.
Cannot.
Got you. Alrighty. And let's go to JB for your response. Can the Democratic Party be reformed? And if not, why not?
It can't be reformed. You cannot reform a party where they speak the language of profits over people. That's my answer.
Amen. Nice and simple. It's good
Yeah,
enough.
I know. It's perfectly
It's good enough.
put, and it fits perfectly. And last but not least, Rome, what you say about this topic? Can the party be reformed, and why not? Or why not?
It can't be reformed because, like Jackie said, it's all really just, one party. But for the simple fact that people think that it is a two-party system, they are built on, destroying, people of color, and, they built themselves up off this, and they look at their top donors, not the money that you and your mother have been sending for 40 years like you do to church. Look at their top donors that gives them, that pay our politicians. Like, I was having a conversation with a Republican about why is Walmart still open and, Target's still open. The small businesses shut down. They killed. I said, yeah, they did use coronavirus to kill small businesses. That's only because you Republicans keep voting for people that's paid by Walmart. Like,
Shit, good.
First of all, you shop at Walmart. You know what I'm saying? And then you don't even look into the person that you are voting for. You don't even know who's his owner, who have that leash on him, or her, or they, whatever. I don't want to get in trouble. Don't fuck cancel. I just got my foot back. But
I hear you, Rome. Hear you.
Yeah, man. This shit is all a game. It's all political theater. And like I said, as with the Democratic Party controlling everything, it's kind of hard for them to say, hey, look over at Trump when you got everybody else looking like, nah, look at this shit. Like, where's my money? And then they think that 1,400 gonna shut everybody up, but it will for only a second. That shit ain't gonna last a couple of days, so
Absolutely.
yeah, this shit is all a game to these people, man. Our life is a game. We all numbers, and that's how they see us. That's how we was born. That's how we're gonna die as long as they control what they control now. That's why I preach killing the government and not just the Republican Party. They all have to go all together.
Well, let's for YouTube. Let's explain when you say killing the government. You mean figuratively. You don't mean.
Yeah, sure. yeah. I mean,
Apparently, Rome is an
like
anarchist.
we can get out here on the streets. We can do whatever it takes. Like, I'm not saying there won't be violence. No.
Yeah.
There will be violence, but the only people that needs to hurt is the right people, should I say, and not us. If we can get close enough to those that's powerful, we can do whatever the fuck we want. Cut the head off the chicken. That's all I'm saying. Somebody out there, y'all have been thinking about it. Somebody is out there next to that motherfucker that's with the, he about to go haywire with the nuclear button. And you wanted to do it. So I'm your conscience. Listen to me. Do it.
Like that. I'm conscious. I like that. And for me, a lot of the same response echoing. The Democratic Party can't be reformed, mainly because they don't want reform. Like, you can't. How are you going to reform a party that doesn't reform? It's the same thing I say about police departments. What are you talking about? You're going to reform them? They don't want to be reformed. You can't force reform on people who don't want to be reformed. All they're going to do is play lip service to your reform and be the same person.
And this coming from the party of consent. This is coming from the party of dissent. We trying to force some shit.
Exactly. And here's my thing. Here's my next question. If the Democratic Party can't be reformed and they're just as awful as the Republican Party, why is so many people, liberals to be exact, the Black community, people of color, why do they think the Democratic Party is the better option, is the savior, is the people that bring change? Like, where are they getting that from? And I'll start with Nick.
I kind of volunteered there, didn't I? Because I talk about this on my show all the time. So my thing is, and why I take pride is breaking people from the plantation. I'm sorry you guys get mad at me for saying that, but that's a good term. It accurately describes the situation. America is the most propagandized country in the world. I stand by that, and I'm unlikely willing to change that opinion unless a country ramps up their program. I mean, other countries, they attempt propaganda, but they're not anywhere near as effective and as powerful as American propaganda. So people always want to like, oh, what about this country? What about this country? Yeah, they have propaganda. It's very cute. But in terms of the effectiveness and how, and I mean, it vibrates throughout the entire world. The U.S. Sexualism and what they will. For example, like there are other countries that are brainwashed, but at least their country provide them health care. Our country managed to convince people that we spend all this money on taxes, but we can't provide health care to our neighbors. Like, if you actually look at what U.S. capitalism convinced people to do, I mean, we have U.S. billionaires that made trillions of dollars throughout the course of the pandemic while people are struggling. And people will just accept that. So what other country has more effective propaganda than this? And one point I want to bring up here, I know I'm going a little bit long, but one giant form of American propaganda is how they limit the scope of the Overton window, because this actually addresses your question, how they funnel people back to the Democratic Party. And this is done in many ways. One effective way is controlling disenfranchised communities and funneling them back into the power structure. So we rep Fred Hampton Leftists here, but we respect and we have a lot of admiration for a lot of Black philosophers. And I cover this. I had a quote pulled up because I think this is a good time to bring it up. Because I covered this on my show. I think repeating and lecturing about
bring out the quotes.
W.B. Du Bois. I think that's important. Because W.B. Du Bois called this. He talked about the class structure began to arise. And this is in his book, American and Socialism and American Negro. He said a class structure began to arise within the Negro group that produced haves and have-nots. These are the Black liberals that we were talking about. And this tended to encourage the more successful Negroes, Candace Owens, Barack Obama's, the Joanne Reeds, for example, to join the forces of monopoly and exploitation to help victimize their own class and other lower classes that was possible. Because to remedy the situation Negroes was in, they regarded the first step towards emancipation as being political power. So that's how they funnel people in the Democratic Party. You get Black leaders who convince that a lot of young anti-establishment Black men, and same thing for Latinos. You got Latino representatives in the Democratic Party. I mean, across the spectrum. I mean, I talk to people from a lot of different communities, a lot of LGBTQ people who feel like people like Pete Buttigieg don't represent them. So that level of propaganda, when I talk about U.S. as the most propagandized country, I'm taking that into consideration too. It's amazing how they're able to get people to vote against their interests. So that's how they are able to accomplish that.
And JB and RJ, I'm coming to you next. I won't ask the same question again. What are your thoughts on what Nick just brought up here? And I'll go to JB first.
Those were very good salient points to take. One of the things that I thought about was that the Democratic Party is continuously riding the coattails of the policies that they were a part of from the 50s and 60s. So, for instance, when you had the Civil Rights Act of 1964 signed, or you had different types of legislation that were done by Democratic administrations, then the Democratic Party says, oh, look what we did. We did all this. And so you guys have to be with us because you guys can't be with them. Those are the ones that put you back into slavery. Meanwhile, it's like you're not really doing much either because the thing is like it's like you want to put Black Lives Matter on the street, and it's like, yeah, okay, thank you. But what about my life that matters, when it comes to my health care? Or what about my life that matters when you guys put all this money in the when you put the money into the guards that put us in an invisible prison that you like to call the police, right? They're basically corrections officers outside of a prison. That's all they really are. So, what is the point of us following you when you're really no different than the Republicans? You're just putting on a facade. And someone said it, I forgot who said it, but they said um, the Republican Party will stab you in the front, but the Democratic Party will stab you in the back. So it's like at least we know with the GOP that they're crappy and they're horrible, and they'll stand by what they feel. And it's like, yeah, no, I really don't like the rights for you and all this and that. But the Democratic Party, they'll say, oh, they'll put their arm around you, be like, hey, man, we're with you, we're together, we're with each other, we're friends, right? Right? And then next thing you know, it's like, hey, man, this man's a sucker. Hey, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, all these other billionaires, go ahead, take their money. They're not looking. So that's what it's like. And I definitely wholeheartedly agree with Nick's point, that, we should look at the party not just in what they do as far as social issues, but what are they, like Janet Jackson said, what have you done for me lately? As far as the economic policies. And yeah, I'm not going to ramble on.
Absolutely. No. Great answer. I'll go to RJ. You can reflect on what you've heard, or you can also, answer the question of why is it that people are going or supporting the Democratic Party? RJ.
I mean, if you just take it in really the Trump era, the reason why people support the Democratic Party is because they feel like they have no other choice, even though that we know that's not true. Most people now vote Democrat by default. It used to be Republican. You vote by default. So it's weird now that the Democratic Party is the default button in politics, because apparently Trump, and rightfully so, is so repulsive at face value. It paints the Republican Party as bad. But the reason why I'm saying all this is that it gives the Democratic Party an out. They don't have to actually be adventurous or go out of their limb for their voters. Now they expect the votes to come to them. So when you challenge them and say, hey, what do you have to offer me? How are you going to change my life? You're told instantaneously that, hey, you're stuck with us, 1. 2, you have to wait until the orange man is out of office. And 3, oh, well, we just don't have the time, or, the Republicans. So there's always an excuse. So for me, I think what we have to do, especially as voters, is it's just as important to vote for a politician or vote for a party. It's just as important to withhold your vote and tell them, hey, in your specific area, if you don't do these things that I want, I'm not going to vote for you. And then you could be able to live with yourself and let the chips fall where they may.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to be going to Jackie and then Rome, but comment on what you want to comment on, or if you would just answer the same question that everybody else is answering. I'll go to Jackie.
What's the original question? Because I feel like everybody said something a little different.
Sorry about that. Why is it that people are, if with the Democratic Party being cannot be reformed and they're being so awful, why are people being talked into being convinced to vote or support the Democratic Party? How is that happening?
Propaganda. Just like Nick said, our news media, just everything is designed to make us the perfect worker and consumer, including the news, including our education system. It's not designed to make us critical thinkers. It's designed to make us be just smart enough to be able to work for Amazon or Walmart or whatever corporation we're working for, and to make sure that we consume those very same corporations. It's not designed for us to think outside of the box or to figure out what's really going on.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with that. And Rome, what say you, sir, about that same question? Why are people still, hanging with the
People are
Democrats?
dumbasses, man. They're idiots. They don't know no better. Look at our education system compared to any other country. Even if these people are living under dictatorship, they still have better education than our people. Not only that, we have it in our games, in our fucking movies, everywhere. Propaganda, this and that. And then once you get old enough to vote, you gotta think, okay, well, all this fucking I'm proud to be American shit, what side of America am I on? Am I on the red side or the blue side? So it's all like a team fucking sport to these people, and it's all propaganda fucking injected in their minds since they've been born. Like, America is the best country in the world. Like, man, you say a pledge of allegiance in the first grade, all kind of dumb shit, man. It's just, and we talk, like, Americans want to talk shit about North Korea, but how much do you know about other countries for real? Like, like, how much do we really teach our kids? We don't even teach our kids about taxes in school, like, come on, man. Yeah, so that's why everybody, just about, like, it's like certain groups of people and certain races that's smart, but overall, Americans are fucking idiots.
And I can't say
Hard to disagree.
I disagree necessarily with you with that point. What I would add to that is it's all interconnected on how this duopoly works, and pressing wages is key to keeping people not engaged politically. That is key, because if you have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, you don't have time to go view other websites on whether what Joe Biden is saying is true. You're just going to go, I don't have time, turn on the 10 o'clock news, let me see what they're saying. I'm going off what they're telling me. Or let me go to, to the wallstreetjournal.com and see what they're saying, see what Jeff Bezos is saying. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So that's interconnected. You suppress wage people, the inability to focus on what's happening, and at the same time, throw in a bunch of distractions, throw in a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter, throw some narratives out there that leads to nowhere, all just to everybody and to keep everybody not on the same team. And what somebody said earlier kind of rang true, which is, I think it was Jackie, our system is designed to put people on their tribal corners by design, so that you don't understand you're already on a team, you just don't know you're on losing. But it's to convince you that one of these oligarchy political groups is on our team. Can you imagine that? Imagine Nancy Pelosi's on my team is what they're trying to tell me. Nancy Pelosi, are you like, Nancy Pelosi is not on my team, but it's designed through propaganda to convince you to pick a side, even though you're already on the side. The Republicans and Democrats are on the same side, and we're fighting against them. And this is why I agree with Nick said, that propaganda, we are the most propagandized country by far, and it's a lot of reasons. One, the country has more invested in their imperialistic, they got trillions invested in other countries. So they have more invested in keeping us misinformed money-wise. They just have more invested. So they want to do more to make sure that we are uninformed. So what do? They buy up all the media.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell me that Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon and owns the Wall Street Journal, you can't tell me he's reporting things non-biasedly. You can't tell me that.
And I believe it was Bill Clinton. I believe it was Bill Clinton that is the reason why him and Disney is so popular today and can have monopolies within their companies like this. I forgot what bill he signed off, but yeah, I believe the Democratic Party is responsible for making all these billionaires.
Yeah.
Like, man,
always, and that's what the duopoly is designed to do. It's one team. You have the bad guys that display they're so vicious and bad, and then you have the Democrats come in and say, "Okay, do you want to be on my team?" That's basically what's happening, and then you've come to find out this Democrat that was dressed all nicely is just as evil as the Republicans, because like somebody was saying, a lot of this legislation could never make it pass as a Republican, but as a Democrat, because we're seeing our guard, the American population's guard is down. It's the Democrats. They're okay. They believe in all of this, so we can put our guard down, and then they pass glass. Then they sneak past Wall Street welfare reform. Wouldn't that be something to have Wall Street reform? That would never happen. But yeah, that's my.
You're quiet. I can't hear him.
I don't know. I think CJ may cut out. I panicked for a second. I was hoping.
His internet.
Froze. But anyway, for anyone watching, hopefully you guys are enjoying so far. We got some good comments in here too. But anyway, I appreciate anyone who's watching so far. We got a lot of comments on Twitter, on YouTube right now. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe as well. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. I just want to pose this question, and I think I kind of want to lob it to Jackie. I kind of stole her answer in the chat because someone said, I don't think they would be an asshole.
Where's Megan? Are we hashtag canceling Nick already?
No. Hear me out, Jackie. I'm not talking shit. So
go ahead.
I don't think this guy was coming off. I don't think he was trying to be mean. He was just saying that we hear what you guys are saying and why there's a lot of anger. But what do you guys want to do about what the solution? So he was saying, like, I hear you guys complain about how you fix it. So I don't think that him being rude, but I replied to him simply. I mean, we've been pretty transparent on our on Twitter page. Now you guys can hear it in real time. I think the only way we can get real substance change is through a general strike. That's why I was lobbing to Jay, because I know whenever someone asked her that question, I was about to lob it, but I kind of stole her answer because that was my response to them. It is, and I'll let I don't want to stay too long on this topic. I'll let anyone respond they want to, but my mindset is I understand that general strike is hard to set up, but when you have a two-party duopoly and when you have the forces of capitalism and a massive amount of resources and capital that they have to continue to block progress, and ultimately the massive amount of evil our state is complicit with right now, especially with the police state, the inhumane immigration policy. I think we at the point right now where we need to shut shit down. We've been there a long time ago. Some people think that we haven't reached there. I think we are. I know it's hard to set up. You always say, "Oh, it's hard to set up." Fucking do it. And I think Bernie Sanders, AOC, and a lot of people with these giant progressive platforms. It's not me criticizing them. This is me acknowledging their power. And I acknowledge your power. I acknowledge your influence. I think you can do it. I think you can reach out to labor leaders. And it's going to be a lot of work. I know it's going to be hard, but we have to do it. I'll leave it open to anyone to comment on that, but we don't have to stay on that too long. I just want to address that comment. I don't think he left it in bad faith though. But that's how I'll respond to it.
No, my phone's about to die. I just have to plug up.
No worries. But I agree. I agree with you, Nick. I do think that the only way we're gonna get any sort of change will be through a general strike. And the reason I believe that is because we're seeing before our very eyes how elections really don't matter. Who they want to win is the person that's going to win. So, and another reason is we're not gonna beat the duopoly by playing the duopoly. Like, you're not gonna beat them playing their own
exactly well said
game, and I feel like it's just the only way we're achieve anything, because the only thing they care about is our labor. That's the only thing they care about. And this pandemic is proving they don't care about our lives. How is it that thousands of people die and you don't say, let's medical for everybody? Like, that is so amazing that we have a health crisis where thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't know the last toll, hundreds of thousands of people are dying, and you're trying to say that was all Donald Trump? And it's not the healthcare system where millions of people are uninsured and underinsured and can't go to, I have insurance. My copay is $45. If I want to go get a blood test, I have to pay $45 to go get a blood test, to get blood work. If I want to go get an x-ray, I got to pay $45. If I want to go see a specialist, I got to pay $45. If I go see, hey, I have a headache, am I sick? He hands me some Advil, I'm paying $45 and have $2,500 for that visit. So ridiculous. They're going to take until we, like Jackie said, okay, I kind of have enough already. This is enough for me. And the only way is through a general strike. Voting is not going to do it. Electing progressive people is not going to do it. Electing squad members is not going to do it. We elected these squad members, and what are they getting done? So electing 40 squad members are going to do what if they're taking orders from Nancy Pelosi? Like, it doesn't make any difference. And the only thing that's going to work is a general strike, and I'll throw it back to the group.
Someone said, and I want to add my response. I enjoy the engagement we have on the YouTube side. I was saying how AOC and Bernie Sanders had the power to organize this, and they said, "Do you think AOC Twitter followers are going to lead a general strike?" He asking like, "What?" And I'm saying my response to was, "No, the struggling American people will. We are in dire straits right now. We're in a homelessness crisis. I mean, we're in a pandemic. The amount of suffering that we're seeing and economic inequality, this is not going to hold for long. And if we have a leader that can properly point out those issues and mobilize a group that I believe that our leaders are talented enough to do, it's going to be hard. I understand that, but I think we can do that as well. I don't want to get
hold on, because they think that shit is zing. But dude, have y'all not seen Bernie Sanders and AOC? You know, when they was out campaigning, did you not see those crowds? Exactly. Just those crowds themselves can fuck a city up, can hold a city down, tear up, surround the precincts, the judges' houses, whatever you need to do. Show the people in power that you're not afraid of them. Make them afraid type shit. Like, that's not a zine. Because people online only know Bernie because of online. They only know of AOC because of Twitter. So that's not a fucking zine. So when she says shit and she like, hey, come out, I ain't gonna say hundreds of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of people all together that came out for this line. That's enough. That's enough to get it started. So that's not stop it with that bullshit. Because if you're gonna come here and you're gonna talk and debate with all that, whatever the fuck y'all, whatever this culture do, over here on this left, have your facts straight.
One more. I don't want to get too derailed, but I do want to address one more question. I think it's very fun to take questions, engage with the audience. I covered this a little bit on my Twitter feed. Someone asking about Joe Biden's push. We don't have to stay on this topic too long, but they were talking about Joe Biden's push to limit our Fourth Amendment rights. I don't know if you guys saw the story. I can briefly recap it, but the Biden administration was arguing because for the police to have the ability to search and seize people's houses without a warrant. Now, I want you guys to understand that this is a massive, massive violation of the Fourth Amendment. Luckily, so much so that it was actually the update on that story I was hearing that it was struck down and lost in the courts. But this tells you everything we need to know about the Biden administration. The Biden administration was trying to expand the police state. To let you know how bad that is, me and RJ was covering this on Friday, and how surprisingly the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh, had a surprising ruling where he actually dealt a blow to the police state where he expanded Fourth Amendment rights. So what police would do earlier, they use this to harass protesters, where they will detain them, they'll use violence against them. And the protesters, their argument, and the lady who brought this lawsuit, her argument was, How can you do that? How is that covered under Fourth Amendment rights? She sued, and the Supreme Court actually ruled in favor of her. And now because that set a precedent where the police can only engage in violent acts with you if they have a due reason to arrest you. So this is actually very significant because if you look at a lot of police brutality cases that protesters had to deal with in Ferguson, and then we see them with protests in the summer, the cops will use this as a defense for when they were being really rough when they arrest protesters. Like, no, we actually detain them now because it's ruling. They can't use that defense. And that Brett Kavanaugh ruled against that. So as it is right now, there's not endorsement of Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh is on factually to the left of Joe Biden when it comes to the police state and criminal justice. So I'm sorry to get in that tangent, but someone just asked what our thoughts over that, and I think that's just devastating because. How do you think that's going to be used? And this is what liberals don't fucking understand. They're so stupid when it comes to these issues. Because they're like, oh, we stand solidarity with you guys. But how do you think the police state is going to use this? They're going to use this to disarm black people. They just show that 94% of the arrests in New York NYPD is because of people of color. And this because of broken windows policing. So they will use this, and they will use this to disarm the black and Latino working class. There was I don't remember the podcast. Sorry, I'll let you guys move on to this. I went on my long spill that I always like to do, but they mentioned how the state, they always do this. The state, they always take away our rights, and they use that under the guise of fighting terrorism and white supremacy. So they're like, okay, we doing this because we want to fight white supremacy. We doing this when we fight terrorism. That's always the excuse. But then they always use the power that the state grabbed and directs it towards the black community. That's historically how they always suppressed us. That's why we always been victims of police brutality. That's how you always see us victims of crimes of the state. But anyway, I just want to address that comment. I'll let you guys either comment on that or move on. But I just want to address some of the comments I saw there.
Anybody had a comment on that?
I mean,
RJ?
yeah, I can comment on that actually. There's really 2 points. The state is very funny in which how they go about it. So, for instance, when the Black Panther Party in the 1970s was organizing, because a lot of black men would get stopped by the cops, and it's you as a black man in the 70s versus a cop. The cop is always going to win. So, a lot of activists like the Black Panther Party, they would show up with their guns on the street, just keeping their distance, watching the cop to make sure the black man or the black woman is safely going home. And so then the governor at the time was Ronald Reagan. He was the governor of California. He created laws which stripped the rights of those individuals to get to use guns. And also, too, look at the summer protests with the Black Lives Matter. They used the NDAA Act and the Patriot Act to spy on citizens at home. So a lot of times the protesters, there's footage of this, so I'm not just BSing. There's footage of actual protesters looking at helicopters from above, and they'll use those type of engineering to spy on protesters to see where they're going and which homes they're going to. Yep. So it's those violations of civil liberties, which is very concerning.
Anyone else got anything to add? I think CJ probably just got disconnected. I saw one thing. I went on these tangents because when I usually do my shows, I like to engage with the audience. I know we had a few issues we want to talk about, but I think that's a good point because this is another reason that made me hesitant towards supporting Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, and neoliberal agenda, because people always just want to blindly just say, "Oh, fascism! Oh, you got just make sure you vote Democratic Party because if you don't like Democratic Party, that's just approval of fascism." And the point I made is this not me being weak on fascism. I'm very, very strong on fascism, but by just saying that, oh, you prefer neoliberalism or fascism or neoliberalism, that's actually whitewashing the crimes of neoliberalism. And you're actually playing defense for that. What do I mean by that? So it's easy just to blindly compare something to fascism, but what do you think is the ideology that's responsible for over 2 million dead Iraqis in the Middle East? Right. What do you think is the ideology that's responsible for Operation Condor, where they tortured and killed socialists in Latin America? What do you think of the ideology that leads us to literally have regime change in multiple countries and funding the genocide? So this is not me saying anything nice about fascism, but when you just blindly compare neoliberalism to fascism, you're just whitewashing the crime of neoliberalism. You're not attacking fascism. You're not bringing fascists down. You just muddying the waters by just using buzzwords. So I have strong condemnation of both because they both horrible in different ways. If you just look at human cost. But anyway, we went on our tangent. If anyone got anything we can add, you can do that. But other than that, we can we can move on if you guys want anything.
Yeah, neoliberalism is just a driveway to the house of fascism.
Yep. What's up?
I'm gonna hold my tongue on this one because I ain't got nothing nice to say.
I said on Twitter, like, we not here to censor Rome. I'm like, we don't do that over here.
I'm gonna hold it on that one because all I'm gonna say is, motherfuckers thought I was crazy when I said I'm buying them rocket launchers. Okay, but like I was really getting people inboxing me, DMing me, whatever. Like, man, what's going on? I'm like, why would I build an organization full of a whole bunch of poor people and not have an army? Like, what kind of shit is y'all on? Okay, look, yeah, we can get things done peacefully, but they will come for us. And just like how Joe Biden tried to slither his fucking bills in, just like how he tried to slither his shit in with the stimulus checks trying to cut Medicaid, we got to be ready. And this is why it's good for people like us to be here, because we're gonna call them out, and if they get too close, we're gonna stomp them out. But yeah, if they come for your shit, you gotta be ready. You gotta be ready. And if you're fighting against them in any way, if you get too big, they will come for you. So yeah.
Well, Rome actually, one of the points that that actually kind of bolsters your point was a quote by FDR. Not FDR, I'm sorry, JFK. He said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable." Yeah. So really, you're actually right there with what the point that President Kennedy said.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. Like, the people is using voting to try to make change, and if that change doesn't happen, what exactly do you expect? But my next question would be: do you believe Joe Biden has been hard?
Has been what?
Joe Biden has Joe fulfilled the idea of reduction by voting so far?
You're cutting out.
I say, he ain't even like, not even in the TV. Like, this nigga be like, at least Trump a fuck up. He'll fuck up on his speech and slur, but this man just go to sleep. Like, what was we talking about? Like, and it's not even that. Like, everything all across the board, nothing has changed fundamentally. And
what about Nick? What do you think Biden so far has lived up to the harm reduction role?
So I had conversations with Jackie and RJ about this. I want to bring Jackie on this as well because I know she's. I want to get her in this conversation.
On Jackie? Dang.
No, I want to get her in this conversation.
The only black woman here, you messing with her. See, this is why you should be.
Okay,
canceled.
saying black woman is redundant because we're all black.
Woman. Okay, so my take on it. My take
I'm
on
about to
it.
get in trouble with this motherfucker.
We said.
I don't know shit.
We talk about this on my show a lot. Well, we said the reason why we're afraid of Joe Biden. We've seen that operate in real time. So Donald Trump was horrific in many ways. I'm very tough on leftists who pretend he's anti-imperialist or he's better than he actually was. But the difference in the Trump era that we had a hostile media that was holding the president accountable. Yeah. Now we have a media that, and I've covered this throughout my entire tweet. I mean, propaganda, state violence, these are the things we cover. If you look at Joe Biden, and Chomsky said himself, you're not going to see the media cover it. They covered the part when Chomsky said he think we should vote for Democrats. But when Chomsky said that Biden had foreign policy just like Donald Trump, crickets. Because it's true. Iran, we've seen this from anyone who's not American propagandists. The Iran foreign minister has been saying it. Putin like, yo, this same thing as Trump. I mean, literally the same exact thing. Now Chomsky's saying, I've been ringing the alarm bells. I've been tweeting about this even before he got elected. That this is going to happen because of state and the media propaganda. So what's the difference? So we have even more people being deported. We got a migrant crisis, but why are we not seeing LC taking photo shoots down there? Why are we not seeing the liberal
Not only
outrage?
is she not taking photo shoots down there, someone asked her directly. Shut up. Someone asked her directly the other day. I think it was like in a live stream or some shit. like live on Twitch or something, and they said, "Why are you not doing anything? Like, why aren't you addressing the concentration camps essentially that we have at the border right now?" And she pulled a politician and never answered the question. Huh. I wonder why I've given up on electoral politics and don't think that there's an inside out policy, because they gave up on electoral politics. I'm not tweeting one more politician. I'm not tweeting for them. I'm not donating to them. I'm not supporting you in any way because you're all the fucking same. The closest one to actually giving a shit and trying to do something is Bernie, because he's been in there for 40 years and he's still fighting on some level for us. AOC has only been in that bitch for 2 years and she's already like, new phone, who this? Like, come on, man. You couldn't even get into the second term before you turned on us.
Right.
That's such a good point.
Preach.
Very, very good point. Yeah, it's like at least Bernie Sanders took several decades to get to
Right.
the sheep herding spot. You took a couple months to this sheep spot. I'm just the last person to ask about AOC. I think it's absolutely awful. And the reason I give like this to Democrats is because I talk about Democrats because you're seen as a guy, but you're really bad guys than the bad guy who we all know is the bad guy. And this is what the response was on Twitter to people when they say, "But the Democrats, you never criticize Trump. What do I need to criticize Trump for? You know he's awful. No, he's awful. What do I need to bring him up about for? I don't need to say, I don't need anything. And have you turn on cable news? He's on for hours. I don't need to talk about him." Like that's
Trump
that's
almost temporarily gave us Medicare for all. He's not as bad as them. They were literally elected to get us Medicare for all. And when they had the prime opportunity to at least put it to the vote, they were like, nah, I might not get a committee seat, which they didn't get in the first fucking, like they didn't even get it. And then the next week for them to be like, we have to try to impeach a guy who's already left office. And when we say why, you turn around and give us the exact same reasons we just gave you as to why you needed to force the vote for Medicare for all.
Right.
Amen.
And that's why I was like, that was the day I was like, okay, she being funny. She being a bitch. Can I say that? She's being a bitch.
I don't know, we see.
But see, you're committing violence, Rome. So you can't be doing that stuff. You gotta watch your tone. You gotta watch what you say. That's
man, when I saw that shit, I was like, she did that shit purposely. She took everything that we was fighting, everything that we said, and just, bitch, what you gonna do? What the fuck you gonna do about it? There's already too many sheep following me. I'm too powerful. They carry me on my pedestal. But as long as we got, man, hopefully more people start listening in, and start, shaking their fucking boat, rocking their boat, son, because
I just don't see
stuck in their fucking boat.
I don't see at this rate of change that AOC through, what is she gonna be in 10 years? Like a full-fledged Republican? Like I understand the longer off. It's not.
By the way,
better.
CJ, you're
I
cutting
can say
out.
that. Maybe you don't want to say it's getting worse, but it's not getting better.
CJ, you was cutting out.
CJ, you're cutting out like mad. Like every other word is cutting out. One thing that I want to bring up to go back to what you guys just touched on, someone saying that Bernie and AOC could have started the general strike. They absolutely could have, because I was in the Bernie Slack. There were hundreds of thousands of people in those Slacks, if not millions, across the country. He had the most donations from anyone. If that Slack were turned over to organizers to say, hey, let's start a general strike, we could have, if instead, when he decided to drop out, though, I'm not criticizing Bernie for this, because Bernie did turn that Slack into fundraising to help people during COVID. So he did use it for good. But I'm saying that those exact same resources, that could have been used for a general strike. All the people who donated to Bernie, who were constantly, because like most people who donated didn't donate just like one or two times. They had like the $27 a month kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Those donations could have been used for mutual aid. That could have been a mutual aid fund to allow people to do the general strike. That could have been the groundwork right there. But instead, everybody decided to acquiesce to Biden, who, by the way, is a fascist. And I personally think that Joe Biden is far more of a fascist than Donald Trump could ever hope to be. Because Donald Trump is not an active fascist. He just kind of lucked into it. Like, he got there and then other rules were there and he's like, oh, well, then I should be able to do this. Like, he's all talk. That's the thing about narcissists. They don't actually believe any of the bullshit that they say. They're just saying it. So with Trump, he was just like, yeah, I'm the president. I should be able to do whatever. And then look like, can I do that? And they're
that's
like,
no, that's why I was
that.
explaining that to my auntie. I was like, my aunties and my mom, you know how black families is when we're talking politics. I'm like, duh, Donald Trump is just he's just upholding the laws that Joe Biden wrote. Like,
right.
What the fuck you want?
Mm-hmm.
What you expect? And I'm telling you the laws that Joe Biden wrote, and you telling me that, oh, it's not that bad. When I say, you know, they like,
Donald Trump, he's nice about it. That's the thing. He's nice about it. He has empathy. You know, he's Uncle Joe wearing the aviator sunglasses. Looking
Joe Biden has no empathy. Joe Biden has as much empathy as Trump, because he literally said, what was it, like college students he was talking to? And he literally said, I have no empathy for you. Cry me a river.
Yep.
Why the hell do people believe this stupid shit about him? First of all, he can't remember empathy at the moment. Okay, I'm just going to go there. Cancel me if you must. The dude's not all there. Okay, You can go back just 4 years ago and you see a huge difference. He should not be president right now. He shouldn't. There should be mental tests and physical tests that you have to pass to prove that you can handle the stress of being in that position. And he clearly didn't take them because he would not pass them. Mm-hmm. But, and you know, Trump is sitting here bragging like, man, woman, TV. At least he got it fucking right, okay? At least he took the goddamn test. I'm going to stop because I'm going to just go off for a minute. So y'all just, you know.
No, they already know what to expect here. And I don't know if I just cut off. I think that was JB. I don't know if I just cut off.
Yeah.
Go ahead, JB.
Yeah.
And I'll chime in after you.
Yeah. I want to read a tweet. And this is going to be very interesting. I shared it, but I think it's really relevant. So someone tweeted, we'll be able to push Biden left in quotes, right? And he said, yeah, okay. Ilhan Omar retweeted and said, yes, we can. With a slim Democratic majority in the next Congress, anything can be possible. It will literally take 5 courageous progressive members to get concessions on progressive policies. So she literally said that they can force the vote.
And yep,
but we know this. Like, as you know, who the fuck we are and what we know. You know, we read up on this shit, JB. We know we've been trying to explain these things, but they're called like followers, should I say? They ain't trying to hear that shit. Like, dog, no matter, even if you had the blueprint mapped out, they're gonna be like, well, what about this and what about that? We gotta save them. They just want these pretty faces in Congress, man. I swear. I think that's what it is overall. It's like on some gamers type shit. They just need these females in the game, bro, because we've been playing with these third legs all this time, and now we get some pretty new faces. And no matter how corrupt the fuck they are, or they turn on you and say, hey, your fucking Twitch dollars don't mean shit, whatever the fuck. You still gonna fucking donate. You still, because they all just like, I don't know. I think it got something to do with them being women, for real.
Well, that's an interesting question, because a lot of people are in the camp of, are they selling out, or are they in the camp of someone that has been propagandized within the Washington circle? What is your thoughts on that?
I mean,
I think it's just a
You
tie
gotta
together.
look at who they are around for one. You know, so like we all know who you around is who you become.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they say, oh well, we have a squad, but look at Miss Presley. Like she was just working for Hillary and Warren. Like she's more to the right than any of them. And then you have Ilhan Omar. She's supposedly anti-war, but not really, not on paper. On tweets, yes. On paper, no. AOC, we can't get her to fight for shit. Like it's just like, but we got all these people around her. When she called, Nancy Pelosi Mother Bear, I already knew like they had that talk with her. Like, look, try that shit if you want. You ain't gonna get nowhere. But out of your seat, and we're gonna make sure they actually put money behind her fucking behind their fucking opponents and endorse some of them. So
I feel like this conversation is kind of the same conversation that Bree Joy had on her podcast. She was talking to her in Virgil, Texas about on her show Bad Faith. Why am I giving them a plug? They had the views, but the point I'm saying is that the argument is that the squad and the progressives are playing a moral game inside an amoral system.
Thanks.
Meaning that if you look at these relief bills, they feel whatever the crumbs that the establishment gives them is justifiable to vote for it because they don't want their communities to go hungry, to starve, to be homeless, yada, yada, yada. But that's not the game you play to serve your constituents or to get something you want done politically. You have to play hardball. You have to be willing to say, no, I'm not going to vote on this. Like in terms, I wish the squad acted just like Kirsten Sinema, acted just like Joe Manchin in terms of using their political power in order to go about progressive change. Because the compromises actually move you to the right.
So RJ, what are you saying? You want a tea party on the left? You want a tea party on the left, RJ? Is that what you want? Hell yeah, nigga, what the fuck? What's wrong with y'all? Like, they always ask that shit, like, what else are you gonna do?
That's how you win. They won.
What else are you gonna do?
That's what they were supposed to be. That's what we sent them there to do. And instead, we got Joe Manchin. He's the one person who's holding up the Democratic Party and keeping things from happening. He is the Democratic version of Mitch McConnell. And we sent 5 different members there to be our own version of Mitch McConnell. And all we get in response is, well, we have to be nice. Fuck that. Nobody donated to you for you to be nice.
Say
that. You
can and they came in as reformists. Let's not act like, okay, they are democratic socialists, whatever the fuck you want to call them. But they came in as reformists. Reformists over anything. And if anybody know what that word means, I mean, not reformists, revolutionists. Revolutionary. They came in as a revolutionist, and then they turned into a reformist. I'm like, oh my God. Then once they started talking that back, Joe Biden show, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. Oh, we have to turn over the Democrats. How many fucking Democrats do you need? You need to talk to these people and tell them, like, look, it's going to get crazy if y'all don't start acting right. Like, I don't know, whatever, man. Y'all go ahead, man, because I ain't got time.
They say YouTube like, bro, Rome is burned on the house right now. You and Jackie, that is. So go ahead. We ain't here to censor nobody, but go ahead, CJ.
I think what we are seeing, play out right before our eyes with AOC, especially, maybe it's happening with a lot of members of Congress. You go from being a waitress or whatever regular jobs you have to now making 4 times, 3 times the amount of money you were making. Now you're able to have a great life. Now you're able to have the single payer health care that you tweet about. You think she's about to mess that up? Why? Why would she mess that up? And if you don't think she got sat down by the leaders in the Democratic Party, you want to be here a long time, you need to fall in line.
Yep.
If you want to be out of here real quick, keep fighting it. And that's basically, to me, the discussion she had, because somebody had to have a discussion with her. You can't go from being revolutionary to being reformist without somebody having a discussion with you. You don't make that change on your own. I've never heard of a revolutionary go, oh, no, I just want to be a reformist today. Like that just that just doesn't happen. You're talked into that, and doesn't matter who you are. Human beings are about self-preservation.
Yes.
Living. So if it comes down to Medicare for all of us, and Medicare for all for her and her family, guess which one she's gonna choose? She's gonna choose one for her and her family, and she ain't gonna mess that up. She gonna stay in that office and keep tweeting and still have the millions of people who still believe in her, who still believe that stuff for the rest of the time that she's there. And that will be her purpose.
Yeah,
hey,
that was,
CJ.
Man, I don't know, man. See, that was my whole reason of leaving all these fucking groups. That was my whole reason to tweeting what I tweeted yesterday. Like, I don't trust niggas to do what I was asked, man, because y'all motherfuckers be on some bullshit, bro. Like, I'll be like, hey, we need to go all the way to the left. They'd be like, well, maybe we can just sit on the fence right here. Bro, do you not know most of my leaders died with like $400, $1,000 in their bank account, and y'all selling out? Man, come on, man. But their words still live. Y'all still teaching people. Y'all living off of their words, teaching people off of their words, but not even living by them yourself. Like, how hypocritical. And when we call this type of shit out, she got the nerve to call us bad faith actors. Like, man, I wish my sister was out of jail.
Hey, CJ, there was a point that you and Rome made. You guys said that she came in as a revolutionary. And just in case anybody wants to push back and say, oh, she wasn't really a revolutionary, this is the same woman that went on her first day in Congress and she led a sit-in at Nancy Pelosi's office for the Green New Deal. So nobody better not come for either CJ or Rome and say, oh, no, they're wrong. She's not a revolutionary. She was a revolutionary and she did some revolutionary shit. But guess what? She deviated from that. And this is why we have to call her out, because she is our employee.
Right.
And this is one of the reasons why we are calling her out. We're calling out Ilhan Omar. We're calling out Jamal Bowman. We're calling out Cori Bush. We're calling out every single one of them, because guess what? Our paychecks paid them. Okay. So if anybody says, oh, no, they're not a revolutionary, then why in the hell did we hire them for?
Right.
And
that's the question.
Why are you marching? Why are you marching with unions?
Exactly.
What the hell is you doing?
Exactly.
Like, come on, man.
I guess my next question that I have for everyone is we had a conversation privately the other day about, the failures of the Bernie campaign, and why did Bernie so quickly capitulate to Joe Biden and the Democratic establishment in the same ways that the squad is. And so I guess my question to you is, knowing that we have a 50-50 split Senate, and I would say approximately 8 to 12 vote majority in the House in which progressives could use their political power, why aren't progressives in the House and the Senate willing to stand up and use their power? Is it one, they're playing that moral game we just talked about earlier? Is it two, they're threatened by some establishment Democrat members? Or is it three, they just don't know, they just don't have any strategy? Which one is it? And is it a combination of all three?
I think it's two. I purely think it's self-preservation, and they got a talking to by Democratic leadership. Do you, for example, do you believe AOC let this sit-in over the matriarch of corruption, Nancy Pelosi, and they didn't say, hey, come to the principal office after that? Come on, man. She got sent to the principal's office immediately after that. And you notice right after that, that's when she started to devolve down. Right after that situation. And she got a talking to, and they said, hey, Missy, you ever put on a display like that? I mean, the stories I've read about Nancy Pelosi behind the doors is she's a tyrant. And people are definitely afraid of her. So, yes. And next day she said, oh, that's Mama Bear, and I will not be protesting outside of her office again, basically.
So, I always say this. People always get mad when you say AOC or the squad was corrupted by the Democrats. But I broke this down on my show as well. Corruption works in a lot of different ways. And I don't play the fool when it comes to explaining the oligarchy. There are a lot of people that say, oh, George Bush, he's an idiot. Donald Trump, he's a moron. Barack Obama, he's a moron. I never do that. I think these people are malicious, and they are really good at what they do. Do you think these people go to all the elite schools and they hang around these people that have been in politics forever? Like Hillary Clinton is open about how Henry Kissinger was her mentor. And people get mentors and they work their way throughout the political system. So they are really good at what they do. What's the point I'm getting at here? The politicians are really charming. So when I say they've been corrupted, it's more than one way. So AOC endorsed Cori Bush the first time she ran against William Lancey Clay. Why didn't she do it the second time? Very simple. William Lancey Clay was like, hey, I agree with you on the Green Deal. I want to work with you on that. And honestly, I met Tulsi Gabbard, and I have a lot of criticism of Tulsi as well. But she's another example because she one of the few politicians I met. When you meet Tulsi, she has an aura about her. She's very charismatic, and honestly, she wins you over pretty easily. Like she's really, at least in my opinion, you talk to her, she's very charming, well engaged. It's a skill you learn. So now imagine you around these people who are very charming. They good at winning you over. They friend. Like when Bernie Sanders say Joe Biden is his good friend, there's no doubt in my mind that Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden probably had a lot of friendly exchanges. So like Biden will see Bernie. Hey Bernie, how you doing? How the kids doing? Jane doing all right? Hey, let's grab some lunch or something. Biden's a piece of shit, but there's no doubt in my mind that if he feels like you equal to him, like he get mad at protesters when they call him out. But like Sanders, his peer, he probably great to them. So when Bernie says his friend, he probably like, yeah, Biden actually pretty cool behind the scenes. Yeah, I probably think he's telling the truth. So when I say AOC and Bernie and the squad have been corrupted by the party, it's because they just been rubbing elbows with these people too. They get to, I don't think that guy's that bad. I think they just misunderstood. This is the kind of stuff that run through their mind. This is natural. Like this is not even me just harshly criticizing. This is natural human flaws or instincts. This is how people get corrupted. And people always say, "How did like Christian Cinema was a Green Party, like Green Party back in the day? How you get corrupted by the system? This is how. Like this is just one of many ways. Not only do you have the corporate money and the prestige, and you want to fit into this high class society that you're part of, you legitimately meet these people, and as a human." Especially since they are trained politicians. Once again, every politician I met, I'm like, damn, that motherfucker, he got aura about him. Like, there's something about him. You meet all these people over and over again. You get corrupted by the system. That's what happens. That on top of everything you guys say. I'm not disagreeing with what you guys are saying, but I'm bringing up the human aspect of it as well. And if you don't have a hardcore commitment to break that and be anti-establishment, which we obviously haven't seen, at least AOC, Jackie brings up that at least Bernie been in the game for a long time before he kind of killed. But the question is, where do you think they been corrupted or not? And obviously, you guys see our view on that. I think I just brought the human part of how that happens.
Well, I can actually add another point. Sorry,
let's go. RJ, then CJ, and then JB, just so we have a clean order there.
I think the next point is really the culture war. And not in terms of what you think of Donald Trump and the Democrats now, but in terms of actual culture. Like AOC, she has this broad cultural appeal about her. And the Democratic Party establishment, that's what they use to masquerade their crappy policies to keep their people in line. So when they see a person like an AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and like a Bernie Sanders more in the last couple of 8 years, become very popular very fast, become very influential, it threatens their game that way. Because then apolitical people, then young people start gravitating to them more, which actually threatens them. So I think that's the part which really scares the Democratic establishment.
So then I think CJ and then JB I think was after that.
Okay. What'd you make in there, Nick? I saw you had a packet of something.
Oh man, I'm not about to put that on camera. Go ahead, guys. Don't mind me.
What I
been a long ass day.
What I wanted to say about this is you can't play in the pig pen with pigs and not expect to get mud on you. So it doesn't matter. You go with the corrupt Democratic Party, you're gonna be transformed, and the latest that we can see of that is AOC. And we have to understand, these people in Washington, D.C. are in a bubble.
Yep.
So what we call corruption in regular world, for example, in Washington, D.C. is a regular day. That's
My
not
person.
that's not corruption in Washington, D.C. So you're in this bubble, AOC's in this bubble, and everybody is saying, all these corporate people are telling us this thing, right? They're telling us this thing. We're the ones on the outside. To her, we are the ones that's different. In her mind, she's just the same person. She doesn't understand. She's been living in this bubble and she has been changed. She has been co-opted. She is not seeing that, because if she's in the bubble, and in the bubble, you're the silver shiny thing in the bubble of a bag of crap, you understand why you still think, well, I'm better than everybody else here. Like, I'm progressive than everybody else here. But the everybody else is people like Nancy Pelosi, like Chuck Schumer, like Mitch McConnell. Like, comparing yourself to those people, comparing yourself to Republicans means what? Like, I could say I'm the richest person in the world compared to that homeless person out there. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not rich. But if I say I'm better than the Republicans, I'm better than the other Democrats, and I hate when leftists say that. AOC, yeah, she's not perfect, but she's better than everybody else. Hate that stuff. It's like, that's how you're gonna choose. So why don't you do that? Choose that for your job.
Right.
Say my job sucks, but it's better than everybody else. My husband is a piece of crap, but he's better than, like, that doesn't work for anything else, but is expected to work for politics. And it's just absurd.
Yes. So there was I'm gonna go a different route here, and so it's gonna throw some people off, but I'm gonna quote scripture right now. Okay.
Preach your truth.
All right.
Preach your truth, brother.
So
Wait, what?
yeah, guess what? So I think it was the Apostle Paul that said, "Do not be misled. Bad association spoils useful habits." So therefore, the people who you associate with, that's who you rub shoulders with, that's who you start to emulate, right? And so a lot of times it's, hey, Alexandria, let's go out to lunch. Let's talk about this policy. Or, hey, how's your boyfriend doing? How is he doing? And so I'm really repeating a lot of what was said already. But the thing is that we also got to remember, she's been in there since 2018. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. She's been in there for 3 years. Okay. That association brings on assimilation. Okay. This is what my mother taught me. Okay. This is why my mom always told me, I don't think you should be hanging out with them. They seem kind of iffy to me. The problem is that once you get in Washington, okay, deals are dealt over dinner. So therefore, you have to associate with these people. This is why some people, when they first had Bernie Sanders was in the House, a lot of people didn't really know much about Bernie Sanders because he kept himself separate all the time. Yeah. And so therefore, that allowed him to be adversarial to people who were to his right.
That's such a good point, man.
Yeah, and so the thing is what they didn't learn the lesson from Bernie was, you need to separate yourself from these people. You're not like these people. When you come in, you don't associate with them. Your relationship is purely professional. The problem is in Washington, personal and professional, the lines are blurred. And so this is why I say AOC has drifted away from the left. Okay? And in one of my last tweets, I said, the left hasn't turned on AOC, AOC turned on the left. She just doesn't realize it yet.
Amen. Church. That is absolutely true. Did you have anything to add, Nick, Rome, Jackie, RJ?
I appreciated I appreciated JP taking us to church. That was pretty nice.
Dr.
Cornell, I ain't about to even try to. I don't know. I kind of feel like that Ken Peele episode when Martin Luther King did that speech, and then he got the thumb up behind him. It's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to back that up. No, man, I'm good, man. He basically said everything.
So, Let's talk about mainstream media in general now. I think this will be a good transition. Um, because even after the Trump era has ended, a lot of mainstream media folks are trying to pretend to be populist because that's where the moment is going, and are truly starting to reveal themselves. So, is there any mainstream media programs, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, any particular shows that you've noticed that have really showed their true colors, or is committing mass media failures after the Trump era and not
Oh, of
during the Biden
course.
era?
I got this one. Okay, so
Get their
remember
ass.
last year,
Get their
okay,
ass.
during the Nevada
Oh, watch.
caucus, remember during the Nevada caucus, and you had Chris Jansen on there during the Nevada
Yes.
caucus, and she was like, "Oh, it looks like the vote's gonna have to go to
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders," and that's when you knew it was like, "Oh, excuse me, you're the one." Okay, so you're one of those, professional managerial class people who think, "Oh, that's too far right. We can't give these poor people stuff because that means that they'll have what I have, which makes them equal to me scary." So, you know what? That's exactly what they think. And these millionaires who are basically making their money off of billionaires are basically telling us, you know what? You guys aren't really as good as we are. So, you know, keep it down just a bit. All right. And let us and our masters, really run the show. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up now, but
So the mainstream
okay.
media is fucked.
Yes.
RJ was talking about RJ was talking about the mainstream media, bro. They are fucked, and we told them, we warned them. Like, I mean, if Trump loses, good luck,
Yep,
because
it's
that
over.
way won't tune in. They doing anything they can.
They're still trying to bring him up, Nick. Are they still bringing him up? They still trying to create stories to have him in the news at least.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is the new one. They try to use Marjorie Taylor Greene and Josh Hawley, and the reason why they getting a lot of coverage, the liberals, what they're doing, Marjorie Taylor Greene would be hard to beat anyway because she's in the deep red state. But you guys realize that because they using Marjorie Taylor Greene, how extreme she is, they hoping that she can be a new Trump, where they can get people hysterical about her, so they can drive up rating because they're desperate, and they are so lucky. There's this Derek Chauvin trial going on right now. I don't know how that's gonna affect it, but I want to see if I can find it. I might pull it up on stream since I got it OBS hosted on here. But I covered it on my show. I mean, mainstream media ratings are tanking post-Trump. People don't care about.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Like some of, I think Don Lemon, thank God, dropped the most. I believe.
Oh yeah, that's funny as hell.
In the number one demographic, which is like, that section of something to 45. I forget where it starts. But yeah, his ratings on his show has dropped something like a third, which is insane for them. But let's step back and examine that our system takes into account ratings for news.
Right.
And you're trying to tell me news is going to be delivering information that I need. News is delivering entertainment to bring eyes to it. Yeah. There's no other reason who cares what the ratings is for news? You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm one of the people who believe that news should not, or media companies should not be owned by people. I think they should be private. Like, there needs to be an outlet where people can say, this place where I'm getting news, there's no corporate bias. Yeah. There needs to be one place like that people can go and say, okay, I get Fox is like this, I get CNN, MSNBC is like this, but when I want to go and say, I just want to know what the facts are, I want to go here. And in the United States, we don't even have that because we can't trust Republicans and Democrats to do that. We can't trust them to put that together.
And this is exactly why I tell people America is the most propagandized country, because people, when you look at other countries that have propaganda, and I actually spoke to someone on this, and so this is anecdotal. I admit that people that are from China, they don't watch they don't watch news, and then someone was asked why don't they do that, and it was explained they don't watch news over there because they all know it's propaganda. So it's like they know what's going on. They know it's a state TV. They know that when they turn on TV and the news come on, they know they gain a pro-Chinese point of view. So this is why I say that U.S. had way more effective and way better propaganda, because people who actually watch Jake Tapper, Don Lemon, Joanne Reed, people watch Rachel Maddow and think they are getting real news. Because once again, so I admit that anecdote because that's one person that knows about the community. But coming from them and based on my life experience from what I've seen, these people from these other countries that have state media, I mean, it's out in the open. They're like, yeah, it's state media. So, if you watch this, it's going to be pro-China, pro-Russia, pro-whatever, pro-North Korea. But here, there's the veneer that they call it as it is. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you have the same weapon defense companies that donate to politicians, donate to the same networks. So that's why they're tough on them. At the end of the day, ratings is all that matter. So I'm telling you guys, the only reason why they're even looking at the border crisis right now is because they're desperate for ratings. Because they saw that work under Trump, so they desperate. They're just throwing out whatever they can. So I want to ask you guys this: why do weapons defense contractors advertise on corporate news? Do you think that age demographic buying ballistic missiles that cost millions of dollars? They're not the clientele. So what are they buying when they advertise? They buying loyalty. Mm-hmm. The same people that donate to politicians donate to the news media. So the news media is weak on the politicians. They don't ask questions about the military-industrial complex, and that's why you have media that's still saying, "Oh, we should stay in Afghanistan," even though there's literally no win condition. This is why I explained to you in a rough nutshell how the corporate media works and why I say they are the most propagandized country. I just tweet that over and over again. I'm like, bro, I'm willing to get challenged on this. I dare you guys, because once again, there are other countries that got propaganda, but it's child play, fucking child play shit compared to us.
Put on your conspiracy hats, boys and girls, because I'm gonna go a little bit deeper than that.
There you go.
You say that the reason why there are commercials for defense contractors is to buy loyalty from that station, right? To a degree, I agree. But I disagree when you say like it's all about ratings. It's all about ratings on the local level, as in the people who actually are in the studio, like the producers of the shows. They are trying to get ratings, okay? But don't forget, all of these, anywhere you get news, all of the media outlets are owned by one of 6 corporations. That is why you get the ads that you get on these corporations. The news media, the media, all of it together.
I gotta go do something. I ain't gonna lie. I'm a chain smoker, and I need a fuck. It's been a minute since I had a cigarette, so I need to go take a cigarette break. I ain't gonna lie. I'm kind of died. I'll be right back. Like 10 minutes.
Okay. The media is owned by corporations. The reason why our media is propaganda, it's not state propaganda like other countries. It is corporate propaganda for the corporations that own the country. Just saying.
Yeah, I think
that makes a lot more, that clears it up for a lot of people, because a lot of people would say, well, our media is not state ran, so how can it be propaganda? How is the government propagandizing its people when they don't own the media? And you just explain it. If you're getting paid by the same people, that's how it's done.
I think a lot of this too, I mean, this situation we're talking about right now, this has been the exact same argument that even Eisenhower had trouble with in the 1950s with the rise of the military-industrial complex. So much so that he gave his final presidential address in January of 1961 before Kennedy was sworn into office. And one of his biggest sayings was, in the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. And what he meant by that is when you have a weapons of defense industry that is so strong that uses not only the media but Congress as its tools to further their own profit motive, while at the same time use the media for coverage, that's when you have the ability where regular things we need, like in terms of public transportation, in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, all the monetary funds and all the attention goes to those things instead of what's best for the regular American people at home.
He was onto something, because that's exactly, you know, what's happening now. And for me, the military industrial, I know we're kind of going off the tangent, but the military industrial complex for me is one of the reasons, for me, I could never support the Democratic Party. Like, you have to be, if you're an opposition party, you have to be an opposition to war. To me, like, if you agree on finances in war, you're not an opposition party, in my opinion. Disagreeing on culture things is not an opposition party, because cultural things to me is the side dish for the government. The government is to deliver protection in financial or economic matters, in my opinion. So, yeah. So that's my little tangent about that. But bringing it back to the discussion, we have been on for a little bit over 2 hours, so it is time to bring this episode, or wind it down. I do want to say, I want to thank everybody who's watching on all the different platforms. The last time I checked, I think we had like 60 people on YouTube. I don't know how many we have on Twitch, but we do want to appreciate you for, you know, going on this ride. Our first episode, it was a bumpy ride. We had some technical difficulties, but we will be back next week for this same group discussion. But before we sign off, I do want to get last words from anybody that wants to talk. I'll start with Jay, then Jackie, then Nick. So if you had any last words, or if you want to shout out, this is the time also to shout out your personal projects. So if you want to shout out your personal YouTube, personal accounts, any project you're working on, let's shout that out to the audience. We'll start with JB, then we'll go to Jackie, then Nick.
First of all, I want to thank every single one of you. I This is something that I've been wanting to do, and you kind of have a I kind of have a bit of a imposter syndrome being surrounded with all you guys, because you all are so brilliant, and as well as your empathy is directly linked to how brilliant you are, and it influences me to be better. So that's one thing I want to say. I want to thank you all for that and allowing me to be able to be in your company. Um, on Sunday, typically on Sundays, I will have different content that will be up, so you guys can look that up, you know, on the Fred Hampton left channels, whether it be on YouTube or other different platforms. You guys can also look me up as JB Font. That's JayBeFaunt on Twitter as well as Instagram. And I do tweet quite a bit. So if you guys want to look me up there. And thank you so much for joining us. Don't be sure to like, share, and subscribe, you know, especially if you're just now joining us. And thank you so much for allowing us to be able to have a conversation with you.
Thank you, JB. Thank you. We're going to go to Jackie. That is something, the reason I interjected is that's something we did forget. If you're watching, make sure you like this video. Please like the video if you're watching right now on YouTube or any other platform. But Jackie, go ahead with your last words.
Can I talk now? Just so you know, this is not gonna happen on Tuesday. Just throwing it out there, okay? I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone who is listening to us on VOP USA Radio. Thanks for tuning in and commenting on the Twitch side. And it looks like that stream just ended right as I said that. So, and as far as personal stuff, I am also Cinematic Adventures. I have a podcast. I will be streaming to that tomorrow on VOP USA Radio, talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And Nick and I will be live on Twitch. We may or may not have a special guest. So I guess you just have to tune in to find out who it could be. Who it could be. Also, I am not fired. I read that. So apparently, I just got fired by Ace on VOP USA. I'm not fired. Dan loves me, so I'm still there. Nice. Anyhow, that's pretty much it.
All right. And Nick, any shout out, any projects you're working on, anything personal?
I want to thank everyone who stayed with us. And the good news is you can look forward to the live stream. I got everything running on YouTube now. And also, you will see the replay of this as well if you came in a little bit late. For part 2, everything ran pretty smooth. We went just over 90 minutes of discussion. So I think that's a pretty good content for you guys. But the reason why you should hit the bell as well as subscribing, because you're going to have daily content. And we really, my mindset, I explained this a little bit earlier, but I want to explain this for a little bit newer viewers. My mindset is we are kind of a network. So tomorrow, me and RJ, we're going to be... we'll be on. We have a great interview. I'll let RJ explain a little bit more. And then A1 can be uploading and producing their content daily. You just heard me and Jackie gonna be doing a show on Tuesday. Compton J to be having some powerful uploads. You have updates from Rome. JB has an amazing show where we interview a lot of great grassroots activists. So this is the kind of content you can expect from us. Thank you for watching. I'm also the progressive martial artist, so this is the kind of content you see at my page as well. But what you see here at the Hampton Leftists is us coming together and banging out content. So hit the bell as well. You to get more content as well. Thank you guys for watching.
Awesome. And thank you for joining us again, Rome, after your cigarette break. We got to get you off them cigarettes, man.
Man, I'm trying. I switched to shorts, so hey.
Hey, so what we're doing, Rome, is we're just kind of we're coming to the end of the episode. We're letting everybody shout out their individual projects or your individual social media. We're going to go to RJ, and then we'll come to you, Rome, after that. So, RJ, any shout outs for you, sir?
Friday, we're going to have a special guest. She was a former representative of MPP. She's also going to talk about what she's doing in her community to drive up Black voter turnout. So that'll be a fun discussion. In general, I do a show on Fridays with Nick whenever he's free, but a lot of times it'll probably be me by myself, and I'll probably have a couple of guests that ever pop up on Twitch if you want to join me live. I'll be doing 3 segments, mostly pre-recorded. One is going to be about presidential history. The first one I'll be doing is comparing FDR to Joe Biden and why the media gets that wrong and why I get it right. I'll also be doing 2 other segments. One, debunking liberals, debunking conservatives, mostly just raging at, I would say, the talk show hosts who get certain parts wrong and why even sometimes they may get it right, but not for the right reason. So those are the kind of the things I like doing, and you'll get here on FHL.
What's the update on the Rofkin? I had a few people ask me that. I just saw in the comments. So, do you guys know when we're gonna be on Rofkin?
Well, we have an account, so they can follow us now.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Under yet, so they have Fred Hampton Leftists is all the same. Just look us up. They can follow us. Yes.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Then Rome, any shout out, anything personal you're working on? You want to talk about, your next fundraiser or anything like that?
I mean, yeah. Well, my next fundraiser, I'm gonna be buying some land, and we're gonna be building a park, and we're gonna name it after communism. We're gonna push the fuck out of communism, like in your face, communism, and show the people like this is what the people can make. We don't need to wait for the city. We already paid our taxes, but if we have to do it, we got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have to, then we want our face on it. I'm not here to play any games with nobody, but you can catch me on shit. I haven't even been going live, none of that shit. So catch me if you can, motherfucker. I'm on Twitch under Left-Handed Politics. Look as a Black Atheist on YouTube. And if you can catch me on fucking Twitter, it's Unholy Rome right now, but it's gonna be something else.
You are expecting to get suspended again?
Oh yeah, man. I got like 3 more backups ready, just ready to go, man.
Okay, I hear you. All right. Well, for me, working on the Populist Voice, got a bunch of different podcasts. I think we got 7 podcast shows on there. Now, lots of different variety, like the happy hour where they're having drinks while they talk about politics, or the Intersection, which is a podcast that's dedicated to addressing issues concerning marginalized people, specifically the disabled, and some other mental issues. That's a great podcast also. Then we have As All Get Out. We have the Independent Left. Am I missing anything? I think that's, then there's my shows, Conversations with Leftists, and also Free Black America podcast. As far as my day next week, I'm day 7. If you saw our tweet, which is next Wednesday. And I'm doing pre-recorded content for there, but this is something I wanted to deliver on the show to RJ. I do have a couple of interviews in the works. On the 10th, I will be interviewing Monica, Black Bernie Babe, for the Fred Hampton Leftists. I don't know what day that's going to come out, but I'm working on 2 interviews. And then the big one is I'm going to be interviewing a Black Panther, actually, for the show.
Nice.
I don't have a date yet, because I'm messaging with them in here, so I got to go and check the messages and see what they're saying. But so that's what's coming up on this channel. That's what I'm working up on outside this channel. The Populist Voice, just Google it. Just YouTube it. The Populist Voice. I'll pop or the.
I'm about to say, nigga, you on Google? Damn.
Yeah, you can Google it and it'll pop right up. So that's
what. Speaking of Populist Voice, Jackie owes me a podcast. She owes me the Jackie Jacqueline podcast. So pay up, woman.
The
I'll
Jackie.
make sure she sees that.
Oh yeah, that Jackie. I know so many Jackies.
Yeah,
that Jackie owes you a podcast. I can tell her that. I'll let her know that she owes you.
Oh, she already knows.
Oh, she already knows. Okay.
Yeah, she had my buddy Pat on there for drinking, and I'm like, wait a minute, y'all have me on to talk about serious shit, and he gets to get drunk? Like, what the hell?
Exactly. Exactly. Any final words before we sign off our first episode from anybody? Nick?
Yes.
Like the fucking power.
I forgot to mention the podcast. So this is all of our streams and all of our content is going to be uploaded to our podcast, which will be live as of later tonight, because I will take this and add it to that. And you can listen to it on anywhere you listen to podcasts. But for right now, it's going to be on Anchor. And you can also listen to us on Twitch and YouTube. For now, we'll have other platforms coming soon.
More to come. Great. Anyone else? Nick, Roan, RJ, JB?
Stay tuned for tomorrow. Me and RJ. Hit the bell.
Yeah.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell. And remember, today's the first day of content every day. So make sure you're following us on TikTok, Fred Hampton Leftists, on Instagram, Fred Hampton Leftists, on Twitter, Fred Hampton Left.
Our
Patreon.
Motherfucking Patreon.
Yeah.
Don't let
Patreon.
them. I ain't fucking playing, man. I don't know how you expect us to do this shit. Look, we just crashed like 5 times. We obviously need some fucking money for a better computer. If y'all want content, look, I don't care what the fuck them other niggas talking about. No, this is how this shit works. You don't education should be free. It is free. We are just giving it to you, but if you want better quality, and you want us to get out there and have microphones and, be able to have walking cameras, hit our fucking Patreon up. Put $1 in that bitch. I don't give a fuck. Just do the damn thing, man. But we need everybody hands on deck, hands in wallets, and you know what I'm saying, really fund a good thing. You know what I'm saying? We're not just sitting here on some TYT shit. Niggas is really about to get shit done. You know, we not just telling you, hey, this is what's going on in the news. No, we're gonna tell you how to fight also and show you ways to fight by leading the way. So
absolutely.
So I think I'm gonna put the Patreon in the chat. But I think the link is still kind of broken. Fred Hampton.
I can't do really none of that shit if I'm working this 9 to 5. If I'm doing all them fucking hours and shit like that, if I it's hard because I got kids. We all got kids, and you know all that shit, all that. After a while, you like, hey man, I got to cut this shit out, one or the other. You know, like I love teaching y'all, I love y'all, but I'm not putting y'all above my children' health.
Yeah,
straight up.
No, and no one expects you to, you know.
No, I'm not talking about y'all.
No. I know. I mean, the audience. Like, I don't think the audience will expect that from you. You of course you're gonna put your kids ahead of us. So ahead of everybody, not just us. But
I need a Patreon link. Hold on, because I need to put
Patreon. Look us up. Fred Hampton Leftist, Rockfin. Fred Hampton Leftist. What else is there? Discord is coming. Facebook. We do have a Facebook. Jackie is no content there, but we do have a Facebook, Patreon. I'm sorry, Fred Hampton Leftist on
Instagram.
On Facebook. And I'm sorry, I missed Instagram. Same thing, Fred Hampton Leftist on there. Make sure you're connected with us on every platform because you never know what these companies might do to shut out the lights for leftists. So that brings us to the end of our first episode. I saved this for last. I want to thank all of my fellow leftists, Fred Hampton leftists, for allowing me to host this episode. It was sort of important. Today's my older brother's birthday, April 1st. So I want to say happy birthday to him. He was killed in 1991, but I never forget it. So I wanted to say happy birthday. Thanks again for joining us for this episode. Make sure you like, make sure you share, and want to say bye to everyone. Bye to our audience, everyone. Let me put it in gallery. Bye.
Thank you for watching.
All righty.